Yeah, it'll be better than talking about old books of people that are dead.
Well, folks, I'm going to talk about it dead too. I'm sure my time's not too far down the road.
In 20, 30 years, you're going to be wanting people to talk about dead folks, and me too.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, so yeah, I'm going to put that pretty much on top of you. And apparently I'm just loud. So everybody's like, pass the mic. But I'm just loud.
You know, for years I've wondered, when would I get my old person voice? You know how old people have a wavering, not firm voice? Basically, is this recording yet?
Yeah, but it's all right. It's all right.
Well, same thing that happens to an old man's dick happens to his voice. But there's a fix for the dick part. These little blue pills or little yellow pills, and holy shit, time to go.
Rock and roll.
I haven't found the fix for the voice part yet. So, anyway, that relates back to the comment that you made about basically it invited the listener to to figure out why your voice projected so nicely into the microphone and mine didn't. And since I got my old man voice, that might have something to do with it. If you looked at the waveform, you'd probably see big differences. And I probably don't talk with the same volume you do.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we got the fix, don't we?
Yeah, sometimes I think it seems like when you're thinking and talking, you're like having a different volume than when you're, because I'm just asking a question, so I just have a question, project it.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking and talking, your voice is just,
it's a little more tentative.
Yeah, it's like you're kind of wavering around and trying to let your voice catch up with your mind instead of just here's what I got on paper.
Which is better than the alternative of trying to get your mind to keep up with your voice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in today's world.
All right.
I was looking through some old boxes of stuff that I've collected over the years, and ran into this box of pictures, and they've been sorted through and categorized and have their own envelopes. Pictures that everything in the world that I saw fit to save for my 47 years tucked away in there, and it's been so long since I've looked at them that a lot of the envelopes have sealed themselves. I didn't seal them, but I guess being packed in this box and pressed together, they sealed up, and I'm debating about whether I want to even open them at this point. But anyway, I've opened some of them, and some of them weren't sealed, and was looking through the contents, and of course there's a story, or maybe a couple of stories that go along with each one of these dogs. Some of them are worth hearing, and some of them are just noteworthy because they're not noteworthy. The most important thing you can say about them was, well, that dog didn't amount to too much. But there's a lot that did. And so I'm trying to figure out how to share some of these stories with their viewers. Sometimes the most eloquent meaning in a story comes from the little side stories. A lot of times those little side stories are the difference makers. And if you know the little details, as they say, the devil's in the details. If you know the little details in the stories, a lot of times you come a lot closer to capturing the essence of the meaning of a scenario. So I don't know to what capacity we have the ability to display these pictures.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just put them in front of the camera here, and okay. I can hold them and make sure they're visible.
I ran into a picture of Molly B. and I would have to dig through this to find it again. It's easy enough to find a picture of Molly B, probably the same picture that I have. And it conjured up lots of thoughts. Molly B was bred quite a lot like China when you really break it down. Eli Jr. on one side, Bully Son on the other side. Actually, Ben, her father, was bred like that. Felton Stevenson's Big Ben. And they were both consummate Eli dogs in a world that they hadn't seen a lot of Eli dogs. And they brought hell with them. They were super fine animals. I went over with a friend, went over to Felton Stevenson's place east of Raleigh once or twice. And he had these beautiful thoroughbred looking black dogs. And each one of them had a tire within reach of the chain. And they were giving these tires hell. They were stepping into the hole in the center of the tire, and they were grabbing the opposite side and just slinging these tires everywhere, and just really impressive physical specimens. And those were some of the first Eli dogs that I ever saw. And so it's not a big wonder that Molly B was what she was. I don't remember all the details, but all the hunts that she won, I don't think they all added up to an hour. She was...
What was Molly B off of?
Stevenson's Big Ben and the daughter of Big Boy, which was it was a couple of crosses on the bottom. But the Ben dog was, I think, Eli Jr. blood on the top and Bully Son on the bottom. If you want to pull that up, we can show it.
People can look it up. I was just trying to get some context.
Right.
Yeah.
So, looking at that, and even back in the day, I wish that I had the opportunity to breed Chinaman to her, because that would have been, or a sister to Ben. That would have been. It would have to have been a super productive breeding. But back in those days, people didn't know Chinaman like they know Chinaman now. It's in retrospect that people really understand the worth of people or dogs. And that would have been a wonderful breeding to do. I think she was stolen later in life, so there's a couple key breedings that were made with her. One of them was to Snooty.
Sorry to stop this, but I understand why you'd want to do that breeding. But for people that just don't understand much about the breeding, why did you want to do that breeding? Why would it have been so important?
Well, two great dogs together, out of the same bloodline, from the same genetic patterns, the same formula that produced Ben, who produced Molly B, produced Chinaman. And it was, back in those days, it was not really understood how you need to breed an Eli dog, that you've got to breed them close to bring the desirable recessive genes together to create a superior phenotype. And as I was describing what was on his yard there were some superior phenotypes. Those were some really fine athletes. But yeah, if Chinaman could have been bred to her, that would have been incredible. I'm trying to remember who all was bred to Molly B. I think Jarrett, Caesar. Remember some of those dogs floating around. I know Snooty was bred to Molly B, which honestly I wouldn't have expected the very best out of that breeding, because you didn't have any Eli on the other side, on the Snooty side. But then on the other hand, Snooty had a special proclivity for producing when crossed into the Eli blood. So one of the dogs that was produced was Brewer's Red Lady, and Red Lady was ultimately a champion. If I remember correctly, in the interest of transparency, I believe she lost one. She had a respiratory infection. But she was a highly respected dog, and I had her on my yard for a couple of years. She's actually buried in my backyard, but I had her late in life, and I bred her to Spike. So that put some Eli blood back with it from Spike's bottom side, but it doubled up on the Snooty as well. I think she only had 1 or 2 pups. She had 2 pups. One of them was a little red, super hyperactive red female that was called Crazy. And she was sent, I hadn't thought about these pedigrees and these dogs in 20, 30 years. Okay, so if I get some of this wrong, it's, forgive me. That's all I can
It'll
say.
just give people something to comment.
Yeah. I think she went down to Braxton Lloyd down in Louisiana. He's the one that I had sent Doc to. Doc being not what a lot of people think he was. He was the son of China. But at any rate, I think ultimately those two got bred together. Crazy and Doc. And, I think they were productive. So we had 2 pups. I kept one, named him Buster. He had 2 hog humps and was very impressive in both. He was being bred to a female. Actually, it was black velvet. And when they were secured, each one of them was secured, but whenever they came loose, they were not being observed. There wasn't somebody there making sure everything was cool, which was a mistake. And she was a hard-mouthed, hateful old bitch. And I mean that bitch word in both senses. And when they came loose, he turned around and they weren't secured properly. There should have been more distance where they couldn't get face to face.
Yeah.
Well, he was still enthralled with having been bred. And apparently she was pissed. And she took his muzzle off.
Oh, fuck.
Literally, and that's how hard she bit.
Yeah.
Everything below his eyes was gone. He had to be euthanized. And that's, if you ever want to ask me the question, name the top 5 regrets that I have since I've been breeding dogs, that he wasn't supervised better. That situation wasn't supervised better, because he was solid as a rock, just a great dog, highly talented, good mouth, great representative of his ancestors. But
probably a big reason why you make sure that we have the procedure we have.
I'm a stickler for details.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything has to be just right. Yeah, that came to play in having that attitude. If I remember correctly, I think I let Brian Goodson, who was out of Mount Gilead or Gilead, I think, Ohio. He's deceased now. They called him Two Shoes. Great guy. We did a lot of fun breedings, good breedings together. I think he got some good dogs off of Buster. So that kind of ended that line for me. But whenever I was digging through the pictures and just reminiscing, those are the thoughts that came up about Molly B. Whenever I think of Molly B, then I think in the category of dogs that I would have loved to have bred to Chinaman or Frisco. Another one that falls in the same category was a Boyle's bred female named Mary Jane. very, very high caliber bitch. I can't go into details about how I know that, but I was highly impressed. Deep game, super high talent, great attitude, just nicely put together. That's one that if
This was your dog?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering how you, because we don't talk about Bull's dogs very much, so how do you, what is your relationship with Bull's dogs, I guess, and this Mary Jane dog?
Well, I saw her demonstrate the caliber of dog that she is, and I love a great dog, whether it's mine or somebody else's. But
Yeah.
the point I was getting around to is I would have loved to have bred Frisco to her. So when we're looking at dogs that I would have loved to bred either Chinaman or Frisco to, you got Molly B. And as I'm sorting through dogs in my mind that were in that category, the Mary Jane bitch was like that. Bull's,
I guess that's the question I had is we don't talk about Bull stuff, so like what's the difference? A better question would be what's the difference between the Bull stuff back then and the Bull stuff now that makes you not interested in going and finding a good Bull's dog?
well, I won't say that there's not a Bull's dog out there that I would love to have.
Sure.
It's just that I'm not aware of it.
Oh.
And on the other hand, I've got enough of my own good dogs out there to pick from and to me, they're known commodities. I know what they are, where they came from, what their ancestors did. They are fully known to me. So I don't know to what extent Ronald is still breeding, but back in the 80s and 90s, people would ask me, well, if you didn't have your Chinaman dogs and your Frisco dogs, what other bloodline would you enjoy having? And I always gave Ronald credit. Part of the reason was he was using the same formula that I was. He was putting pedigrees together where you had the Eli on both sides and you had a good source of bolio to keep them smart. I never felt like that the animals that his foundation animals were quite the caliber that mine were. I was blessed in that, but he got some good results, and my hat's off to him. But Mary Jane was the crowning achievement from what I saw and what I knew, and I would love to have bred her back to Frisco or China. So, moving right along. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that.
If you have a picture, I'll hold it just
Okay.
so it looks.
You'll have to look at the back to know which ones they are. A lot of people don't know that Frisco had a fantastic brother, and his name was Chinatown.
Yeah, Chinaman to China Girl.
China Girl too. Yeah.
China Girl too.
Yeah. So this is another picture, and it may be the same one you got there. The picture,
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah, same one.
The picture that you've got there is when he was 10 months old, 48 pounds. He was sent by Benny to trying to remember the guy's name. I'll think of it in a minute. There were three that were standouts in the litter. One of them was China Girl, that was sent to Don Brote, and helped his program along immensely. A guy named Lejeune is the one who got Chinatown. Chinatown went through a war with a hog. He had 2 successful hog hunts, and one of them had as much in the way of titles as a hog can have, and was multiple pounds bigger than the Tom, and he broke both of Tom's front legs at the 20-minute mark, and then Tom ended up finishing the contest at about 2 hours. So yeah, I mean, those are stories that make you feel warm and fuzzy all over, and you just know that that's incredible genetics. That's one of my regrets, was that I didn't have an opportunity. The dog didn't live to be an old dog, and the not having him on my yard to add his genes to Frisco's genes was a regret. Ultimately, he was bred into a Bobby Hall bred bitch, and I don't remember her name. It might be on one of these. Yeah, let's see, Hall's Baby Doll, and that produced Chinatown to Hall's Baby Doll, who was off of Robert and Miss Boobs, produced Grand Champion Rags.
And this is Grand Champion Rags?
It is, yeah. So I share these things to give you some idea of how much depth there was in that gene pool. Just, multiple dogs performing on super high level and producing. But if I had had good dogs out of Rags and or out of Chinatown, it would have made my life a good deal easier.
You're okay with me showing the back of this too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I was just looking at the what the date was.
95, 96?
On the picture itself.
Oh.
The date stamp. But anyway, there's a piece of history that was known by a significant group back in the day. But
Thank you.
yeah, lots of folks don't get a chance to hear those little side stories that make the difference. If you know Frisco had super high achieving litter mates, then you have an understanding of the depth and the breadth of the quality genetics in that gene pool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's look over here and see what else we've got. Remember who that is. Here's a couple pictures of the original Earl dog. My man had a Stompanato bred bitch named Spider Biden, direct daughter of Stompanato, if I remember correctly. And he contacted me one day wanting to breed her to China. And I was happy to do it, and apparently he had some instincts about putting Eli dogs with Eli dogs. And so we sent her down. Both dogs were old, Chinaman and Spider Biden. And so you never know if they're going to even have puppies or not. But ultimately, she had one puppy, and I think we had done a puppy deal, but I told her just keep the pup, because he'd gone to more trouble than I had. And so he raised the dog, and one day when he was, I want to say 2 years old, he contacted me and said that the dog was fight crazy. They couldn't get him to breed, and wondered if I wanted to have the dog. And a little voice in the back of my mind said, I think I can get this dog to breed. And he said it was an excellent dog, met all the criteria for a good pit bull, but he just couldn't get him to breed. So we I don't remember whether there was any money exchanged or not, or whether he just gave me the dog. Mountain Man was always a fine example of a human being, and knowing him, he might have said, "No, Tom, just go ahead and take him." You know. But at any rate, he got him to me, and he was a fight crazy fool, and I had to work some chemical magic to ever get beyond that. There is a hormone called chorionic gonadotropin, which stimulates a male's testicles to increase sperm output and testosterone output, and it dramatically elevates sex drive. So I had him chained beside of, I always kept a couple of bitches that were in heat beside of him, and I'd go out 2 or 3 times a day and wipe the heat blood from these females and just smear it all over his face.
Whatever has to be done around here to get a dog bred.
That's right.
I laughed when you said somebody couldn't get a dog bred and you felt this challenge to get this dog bred.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because around here, a dog gets bred. It might wake up bred if it has to wake up bred.
That has happened before too. But yeah, I mean, you would think sex is something that kind of sells itself.
Yeah, right.
You shouldn't have to abuse an animal to get him to agree to breed. You know, but he had an extra dose of the prey drive. So at any rate, you know, after saturating his face with menstrual blood for a couple of weeks, we got the one in that we wanted to breed. And so I duct taped around his muzzle. Have to be careful got to be careful to note that they are breathing fine through their nose, because they're not going to breathe through the mouth if you close the mouth and secure it with duct tape. And then females backed up to him, and he was losing his mind to try to bite her. And somebody who was present actually provided a manual assist. I don't remember whether that was me or somebody else. But at any rate, it's like you said, Brad, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Ain't gonna go from finishing first to finishing second because you're afraid of getting something on your hands.
Yeah. Especially if they're great. I mean, and a lot of the greatest are just a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what fuels the greatness, I guess. But
Yeah.
anyway, after wrestling around with his crazy ass for 20, 30 minutes, he finally started showing some interest. And once he had the experience one time, that was it.
A lot of us could probably say that.
Yeah, life was never the same afterwards. So, those pictures were taken by a fellow who was, that, according to the writing on the back of the picture, Mountain Man had offered to sell that dog at something that appears like it might approach a puppy price.
Yeah, $800.
Yeah.
He said he should have paid based on the blood.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, there's a whole bloodline inspired by that dog. And
Have you been here?
Yeah.
Where these pictures are taken?
Yeah.
It's kind of odd to me, like all of the like where this is your place.
No,
Oh,
that's Mountain Man's place.
okay.
First place.
So it's just odd to me. These dogs are like, it looks like they could fall in a river. Can you explain like kind of the photos, like
Well,
how they were kept?
They were kept beside of this mountain stream, this fast moving mountain stream. That was their source of water. But whenever the creek did rise, like it did when that hurricane came through, Mountain Man was in a jam. He had to load them up and get them away from the creek. But it solved a lot of problems. He might have trained them to defecate in the creek too, for all I know.
Yeah, whatever. It looks like an easy way to get a couple things done, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it might have made the creek water taste funny downstream.
And this dog's standing out on the board.
I guess he was practicing diving or something.
I mean, you can't really see the rest of it, but
The stories I know about that creek, yeah.
We have a guest here with us today who's, I think, would like to interject something. Would you like for me to share your name?
Sure.
Larry Watford from much further south than where we're at right now. Came up for a visit today. Apparently, you knew that situation pretty well. What
Yeah.
did you want to share?
Well, that first setup that the Mountain Man had was it was actually a pretty unique setup, like you were saying, Tom. And so pretty much the dogs would use the bathroom and everything and drink out of that water in that creek, and so it's kind of self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And like you said, whenever the creek rise that time and destroyed it, and he moved them up to his other place, he had them up on a hill. So it's kind of like anybody else. Once we see something that's a danger, we change it to protect the dogs.
Yeah.
And Mountain Man was a fine fellow.
Yeah.
yeah, self-sufficient for anybody upstream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, except for that.
So
That's what I was saying.
did he lose dogs in that one event?
Yeah, he did. He told me he did. He lost some dogs in that.
Yeah, you got to always think ahead. Yeah. There's 10-year storms, and there's 20-year storms, and 50-year storms, and 100-year storms, and you just don't know where you're at in that cycle. So you got to prepare for the one that sounds like it's a long ways away, maybe around the corner.
You think ahead better when you're older, that's for sure.
But you've been the brunt of those events.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young people that call me and these dogs telling me stories about things that happened that I just want to choke them to death. And then I remember that this is like a 25-year-old kid calling saying this happened. But I don't have so much patience when somebody in their 40s or 50s calls me and tells me they did something dumb and lost a great dog.
You know that they've made peace with losing great dogs. That's what it comes down to. Young guy, these scenarios can sneak up on them because they don't see them coming. Older guy surely has seen these things happen before and just don't have enough wherewithal about them to prepare in such a way that they prevent the problem.